Hi, I'm Marie Banu, Director of CSIM and a member of CSR Committee of DLC Chennai chapter. My topic for DLC Talks today is going to be on creating sustainable social impact and the importance of social accounting and audit. There are more than 3.3 million NGOs in our country today, and it's increasing as we speak. This morning I read an article about the CSR funding and the entire gamut of fundraising scenario in our country. And it's shocking to know that our NGOs are able to raise more than 22 crores through the Give India Challenge. See, that's where we are now. At one point in time, say 20, 30 years ago, we were struggling to raise a few thousands of rupees to raising crores of money. A lot of opportunities, but at the same time struggles as a fundraiser, which I would like to share with you all. We all know that fundraising in itself is a key for any social work organization to sustain its work, right? But then, how far are we, or how perseverant are we in meeting these challenges is what we have to determine. My first assignment with Oxfam India, way back in '99, was to raise funds for the Orissa super cyclone affected victims. What do we do? How do we raise money in Chennai for victims in Orissa? So they had the opportunity of premiering a movie, an English movie. A day before the release date, the event manager gave up. Gave the tickets and said, I can't do this event for you all tomorrow. And myself and my colleague, we were not knowing what to do. We have sponsors whom we have committed, and we don't have any ticket sales. So literally we hired a rig, went around the city colleges sticking posters, and even doing counter ticket sales. We had to fill the house so that our sponsors are also happy. So what we did was invited college students to come and fill the seats. But we were not feeling bad about it because at least we could sensitize these college students the purpose for which the film was screened. We did break even with the monies we raised from sponsors and could send some funds for the Orissa Super Cyclone Relief Program. So fundraising isn't easy. At the same time, it teaches you a lesson each moment or each activity you engage in. From the Orissa super cyclone and then the Gujarat earthquake. So Gujarat, it was a different profile of fundraising which we had targeted. Here with the Loyola College, we started the newspaper donation campaign. We will think what a newspaper could do, how much could one earn from a newspaper, right? We asked the entire college students to donate a month newspaper for the sake of raising funds for the Gujarat earthquake relief. You will not believe the room was too full of newspapers. We never knew how we are going to manage this flow of in-kind donations and newspaper donations coming in. We raised so much of monies and donations that we could even charter a flight and send the relief materials to Gujarat. So that was the scale, and that pepped up our fundraising energies within our team. Went on experimenting new ideas. I had the fortune of a good director at Oxfam India then, Mr. Ramappa, whom I should credit, that he allowed me to experiment new ventures in the fundraising gamut. We had Doctors' Day, where once in a month the doctors used to contribute for a social cause. So we kept a donation box at the doctor's clinic, and any fee which he received as consultation goes into that. So Dr. Benjamin was one of the leaders in that. And at Malhar Hospital, we could raise more than we could get from a donation box kept in a shop. We also kept donation boxes in homes of bureaucrats and individuals, and we used to go. I used to go personally to collect them. It was no embarrassment to count the money in public or in front of the donor because it's part of our job. So no inhibitions. So at Landmark, when you go and open a box full of change, you have to sit there and do manual counting. So it will take at least an hour to do that. It was very happy to see people contributing. There were foreign currencies in sometimes. So when you do all these fundraising and know the nuances and understand the challenges which we face as an NGO to contribute for a relief, then the more you want to have the drive. After the tsunami came in, we did do a bit of fundraising for Oxfam India. Then I had the opportunity to be the media officer for the international tsunami response of Oxfam in South Asia. Here, understanding the fundraising needs, the NGOs, wearing the media hat was simple. Here I had taken that opportunity to throw light on the NGOs, to the global media, to tell how well these NGOs work on ground. NGOs in the beginning could not cope with the stress of the tsunami and the government needs, matching the donor wants. Yeah, there was a fund flow like anything. You will see banner NGOs. That's what we used to use the term banner NGOs. We'll have a big van with a banner of an NGO name on it, and they will start doing relief work in the tsunami affected areas. I traveled entire South India coast for the relief and rehabilitation and documented hundreds of stories, very, very touching stories. So being a media person also taught me many lessons. We all see sensation being the TRP for any media, right? International media flow was there, and I was coordinating them. But one such experience I'll still recall is when I had an international media representative asking me to show emotions, sensation, a person wailing at the background of the sea waves, to be documented because it's a radio interview and they need to feel it on the Boxing Day when this is being, the first year anniversary being broadcasted. I put my foot down and said, no, I'm not doing this interview. Indian people are very sensitive, emotional, and we don't want that media space where we are having our emotions showcased. And I always go by the Red Cross Code of Conduct, where we say we don't look at people as objects. We have to respect them. So it was a very tough decision, and my Oxfam International media bosses did agree to my thought. So 2008, 2009, many of the big players, the large donor organizations, including Oxfam and others, they left South India because there was more need in the north. So what would these NGOs do who just started up their activities? Yeah. So then came the social entrepreneurship angle. And I think at that point in time, I also had the opportunity to join CSIM, Center for Social Initiative and Management, where my good friend Lata Suresh was a trustee. So what do we do with CSIM? We teach these NGOs how to do sustainable social work. Some had the thought like, how can a charity earn money within the organization? So the hybrid model was advocated, where you can do a program which will provide income for your trust. At the same time, you can use that fund to do your social work. So it was a combination of both for-profit and not-for-profit. And some NGOs are also encouraged to start a parallel for-profit venture, which they did. So social entrepreneurship training picked up very well. We started going to colleges, empowering the students about the need for social entrepreneurs in our country. We had a lot of pitch fests going on. The TBIs, of course, they were there. We also trained students of IIT, VIT, and many top colleges in the city, including Della and Loyola. So all these students were really excited about this entire entrepreneurship opportunity, and training went on. So where do we go on? We keep training them to sustainable social activities. Is that enough? There comes the trust factor. It's just whether you're a social entrepreneur or a social worker or a media officer, whatever the role you may play, the trust factor is the key. And most importantly, to be a fundraiser, that is very important. So how do you make people realize that this is very important in the development space or anywhere else? Social accounting and audit is what we brought in. The founder of CSIM, Mr. P. N. Devarajan, he made this possible of having the Social Audit Network India be launched, which is the sister organization of Social Audit Network UK. A bunch of us were trained in social accounting and audit, and we started conducting this for corporates, NGOs, as well as education institutions, and a few of the government projects as well. So social accounting and audit, social impact assessment, just terminologies, but on the whole, it is like evaluating the work an organization does in the social space and reporting on it. So a lot of lessons from this. And the only one thing we advocate is, you do your regular monitoring and evaluation. Don't wait for the D-Day when an assessment is happening 3 years later or 2 years later to find, oh, I didn't realize this was a gap. So we are also advocating parallelly for monitoring and evaluation, and this social accounting and audit is picking up. I myself have been part of several audit assignments and more than 40 impact assessment of leading corporate foundations in our country, and a lot of learnings. We all are still learning. With the CSR fund flow, crores of rupees, we hear 1.3 trillion rupees being pumped into the CSR space since the Act was implemented. And the last 3 years alone, we have got more than 22 crores, if I'm right on the stats. But then, are these money well spent? If so, how are we accounting for it? Are we doing it directly? Are we working with NGOs? How do we trust each other? How are we reporting to our stakeholders? All that matters. Now, corporates in the CSR space work with NGOs, and they have their CSR policy, and the Act mandates that they should follow one of the 13 objectives outlined in Schedule 7 of the CSR Act. Parallelly, CSR also focuses on the Sustainable Development Goals. What are these? They have 17 goals mandated by the UN. So when we talk about the CSR, there's a clear focus and the policy, and they implement directly or with NGOs. How do we reach these NGOs? Who are they? Yeah, there's so many sectors and socials in the social space, and we don't know where to go. So a lot of thorough due diligence has been done by the Ministry of Corporate Affairs, and they, in their dashboard, has outlined those NGOs who are already being vetted by them. For a lay person, suppose there is a case of distress and you want to approach an NGO, what would you do? Now Google is there. Yes, we find geriatric care or child care, and you get the NGOs in your region. You can go even to the map and locate them. But are they operational 24/7? Not everyone. So we have the child helpline in case of issues with children, which is of course available 24/7. Or the best way is to approach an NGO whom you know or whom you can connect with. The police control room, yes, they also have the network of NGOs and they can refer you. But again, the timings also matters. Not all NGOs function throughout the day and night. So if you have an issue, if you have a serious concern to raise, you can approach these NGOs. And there are a lot of network of NGOs also. Especially in disaster situations, we had networks being operational and doing human services. They work along with the district collectorate. So if you have an issue, you can approach a district collector's office who will refer you to the NGO for that particular vertical or sector in which you are looking assistance for. So the first bet would be approaching the district collector's office or an NGO who's working in that particular area. If it's an elderly care and you want to approach someone who could admit a lady who is abandoned or who's senile and not able to relate to where she's come from, you can contact NGOs who are working in the space. Admitting them in an old age home is not the solution for such issues, I would say, especially when it comes to elderly care. There are many organizations who work towards family reunion. So that is also an important responsibility for each of us to identify such organizations before we see that this person whom we identified as abandoned being sent to a home. They can be in a daycare center or somewhere, there are issues at home, but sending them to an old age home is not the remedy for any issue which is targeting the elderly of late. So my request to fellow DLC members across the globe, I would say that every action counts. Yeah? If you're a corporate, you have your funding and you're working in the social space, encourage transparency and accountability and see that it is embedded in the systems you follow. If you're having an NGO work with you, start from day one the entire monitoring and evaluation plan and check on and off, say probably a quarterly or half-yearly, to see how the program is progressing. Don't wait for the second year or the end of the year to take a stock and just report on what work you've done or how the money was spent. Because we are accountable for the money that the company is giving for the CSR, and every donor is waiting to know what good work we are doing on ground. So selecting an NGO as an implementing partner is a responsibility. At the same time, to see that they are functioning well and as per the plan is another big task that we have to carry out. So what we are saying now at CSIM, or as an independent person, I will say that please be transparent and accountable for whatever work you do. Every rupee counts, and it is very hard to raise that rupee for your social work. So be thorough on what you do and keep telling others the good work you're doing. Thank you so much.